What's up, guys, and welcome back to Crypto Trader Live, our weekly live session where we review the cryptocurrency market to determine what is going on in the crypto world, what has been happening in the news, and what is about to come up. Now, interestingly enough, as we started the session, a lot of things have been brewing up in crypto world, especially with Bitcoin. Within the last hour, Bitcoin dropped over $1,000 as futures were launched on the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which has been unsure for a while how that would affect pricing. But I think we got a clear answer now. If we look at this chart real quick, we failed to break 20,000. We failed to break the high that we once tested before, and we had a rounded top with a big red Marubozu candle. This is a big warning sign. And in fact, when I first saw it, I started getting out, let's see, fills. I tried to, so I bought back at 19,250. I did a couple trades here. They were all winning, but once I saw it drop below 19,100, I've been trying to get out, tried to limit out, didn't work, so I decided to mark it out safely at 18,900. A good call because we're about another 700 down. And with such a candle, I can see it fall quite a bit more, especially because not everybody is tuned into crypto 24/7. So in a couple hours or maybe tomorrow morning, some people will check their accounts or they will see the news and they will say, as a result of the futures launching, Bitcoin drops by 20% or by $2,000 or whatever the number is. People will freak out, people will sell. So I think this is the shot for the beginning of a correction, which, to be completely fair, is so overdue. And that's why we started a couple minutes late, because I wanted to liquidate all my positions except for those that are truly undervalued. So I liquidated Bitcoin, I liquidated Ethereum, I liquidated IOTA and Stratus. The only one I stayed in, the only two I stayed in is Power Ledger and Raiden Network, because those two are like below 300 million market cap, so really low. They haven't grown that much yet, so they have ways. They might as well grow while everyone falls, or at least be more unaffected. Since low market caps, it's more educated investors that probably are hodling compared to, let's use IOTA as an example. IOTA went from 50 cents to $5 in a span of like a month. So there's a lot of people that bought into the hype, and people that buy into the hype, they're also the first to fold their cards, which means bigger retracements. So just for some reference, and I've been talking about this for a while. The last correction we had ended on September 15th. We were down to like 120 million. Right now we touched 600 million. Billion with a B, billion. So it's really overdue. And this could. I'm not saying the correction might not happen right now, but I think the likelihood of it happening now is just a lot bigger than it usually would. Because futures launched and the result was negative. So I'm sure the media will find a way to spin it. And news about bubbles have been at an all-time high. I don't know if you guys been watching your Facebook feed or anything, but people have been sharing articles where fucking Jordan Belfort from the Wolf of Wall Street says, oh, Bitcoin is like is a bubble, or it's like there will be a short squeeze and all that kind of stuff. Lots of people talking bad things in terms that prices might fall. So this is kind of like a gotcha, told you so. Where people might say, look, it launched on futures. It took us, what is that, like 12 hours, less than 24 hours. It fell already now by $1,500. So I just say, trade with caution. Again, I liquidate most of my positions, and I would, for example, some people will probably try to like buy dips, but you can get wrecked doing that. So what I would like to see is something like a double bottom first before jumping in, because yes, it will recoil, but more than likely it will come back down, and then you'll see, does it fail to make a lower low? If it fails to make a lower low, that's a great sign to either get in or at least to wait. Does it make a higher high? Then you get your sign. Now, yes, you would have missed out getting in at 18,200, but you could still get in at 18,700. And chances are, I hope you got out before, so you would still, increase your Bitcoin count while having lower risk. So with that said, we're hopping into technical analysis for the top 10. And if there's any other coins you want me to look at, I'll be happy to check them out at the end of the session. Let me quickly check. Yeah, so real quick, if a correction happens, I can see something big like man, I could see a 50% drop in market cap, which I think would substantially come from Bitcoin maybe slaying one or two big ones that weren't deserving of it. So I think a $300 million market cap would be realistic. Which exchange do I use for Power Ledger and Raiden? I use Binance right now, but you can also get Power Ledger via Bittrex. USD Coinbase, there we go. Thank you. No, I don't need this. Yeah, so this is why I'm a little bit bearish right now on Bitcoin for two reasons. I mean, this could still be consolidation, but given that we've gone so far, futures launched with kind of a negative, I think people will become. You can't see anything. Oh, you could get your tongue.
Yeah, neither can I.
Okay. Share screen. Yeah, so my main concern right now is that, you know, we've got big red Marubozu, and I think come Monday morning there will be some news that will be able to push this lower, and then, you know, the question I guess becomes, you know, where do we get in? I think 1500 will be one place where it could be possible. Let me just make this thicker because I don't like these thin ass lines. There we go. So 1500 could be one level. I don't know, man. Like those wicks could be another, but honestly, I'm personally not yet setting limits and getting ready to just like get limited in by a dip, because I don't know how deep it will go. If we use Fibonacci, you know, we could see. Let's see, Fibonacci retracement from left to right. Why is it being retarded? There we go. Where's 0.618? Yeah, okay, 1500. So that we got something right around 1500. That could be one level. So that wouldn't be too dramatic, although that is a 25% retracement. So it wouldn't be too dramatic, but I think to most it would. We could see that. If we want to go real bonkers, you know, I think we could go back down to 10,000 if we have a major retracement. But I mean, this is something that we'll see by next week. You know, if it goes down this far, it won't be happening tomorrow. And I actually talked about this with Paul today. You know, real corrections, they don't, or like, you know, if it was a bubble pop, even when bubbles pop, it does not happen overnight. And you can look at, you know, I could actually look at the S&P, you know, 2008, that went over months. So, you know, it's really a question of why do people hold on so long? What are people, you know, I guess they're hopeful. That's the problem. They're hopeful that, oh, it will fix itself, you know, it will come back. Because if this is 2008, look, this is, every single candle is 1 week. 1 week. You had so much time to get out. Like right here, what is this? Looks like a double top or maybe even a head and shoulders, right? So worst case, you should have gotten out here probably, you know? And what happens next? It's a retest, you know, like you can know that, but most people probably thought, oh, look, it's coming back up, let me buy in. Boom, they get slapped in the face again. They thought, oh, it's coming back, let me get in. Slapped in the face. So it's really important when we talk about, you know, bubbles popping or, you know, major corrections happening, that you don't get too excited too soon. So what I always look for is, I say this all the time, I look for a higher high. Did this make a higher high? No. 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 Aha, now we're making a higher high. A little bit, you know? And at the very latest, once it moves above this high, this is your time to get in. Now, if you had sold, like 2008, if you had sold right here, when it broke the head and shoulders, and you had gotten back in down here, I would bet that you would have done better than like 99% of the people. You know, and you would have avoided the worst drop. You would have avoided all of this. And not all, yes, you might have lost some potential profits, you know, from here to here. All right, you know, that's you know, it's not insignificant, but you were able to pick them up so low. So basically, by the time it probably got to here, you were already profiting again. So this is what I want you to think about. You know, if something like this were to happen with cryptos, because you can lose so much money on the way down if you get too excited and too greedy, where you think, oh, this is the bottom. Got hit in the face, sold. Buy again, sold. Buy again, sold. Buy again, sold. And the problem is, what most people do, by the time it gets to the actual reversal, they're so burnt out from, you know, picking the wrong bottoms, so they don't pick bottoms anymore, and then they miss it, and they say like, I missed it, and then they get in here. So people manage to lose money when it goes down, but you don't have to, as long as you wait for a higher high and a higher low. It's very simple Dow theory, and as long as you're patient with that, you will be fine. Yeah, and if you look at this hockey stick, and something else I do want to say real quick is that when we talk about bubbles, I don't think Bitcoin is the only bubble that's happening. This is the Dow Jones. Now, this looks not too different from Bitcoin. It's different in scale, but the slope compared to what's traditional is way, way out of bounds. So I think that on a macro level, almost all asset classes are bound to see a major correction. And what's important for us to realize is that, or to test, is how these will correlate. So for example, if the Dow Jones pops first, we might see some money fleeing to crypto. But if Bitcoin or crypto bursts first, I think we might see some money return to US dollars, maybe to gold, some alternative assets. But I would just be cautious, be aware how these bubbles work, and you don't want to be buying back too soon. So let me get back to BTC real quick. So right now I would say I'm 75% liquid if all my orders worked out properly. And otherwise, I'm just being patient. I'm just being patient and seeing how this plays out, because I'm pretty confident that we will probably see another red candle tomorrow. If if the news spins it right, and if people haven't checked their accounts until tomorrow morning. So just be ready for it. So that's Bitcoin. I'm being patient. Wait for higher high. It will come back, most likely. It will come back to. I think it will come back to higher levels than it is now in the long term, no question. And I actually wrote an article about that in BuzzFeed. I think I talked about this last week too. Actually, it wasn't released last week. And I said, I think Bitcoin will have a higher collector's value than just what it has now, because it's the first cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrencies are here to stay. So it's like a piece of history, to be honest. And there's only 21 million, and probably I would say at this point there's probably 3 million already lost. But when it was worth nothing and people had them on their hard drives, or Satoshi has like 1 million or 1.5 million, and he's probably dead because he's Halfini, something like that. So I think they will be worth a lot more in the future, even if they serve no purpose other than being pieces of history. That's my take on Bitcoin. So if you want to hodl through it, be my guest. If you're more aligned with being a trader, a swing trader, I would say stay liquid and wait for a higher relative high. That's Bitcoin. Any questions with Bitcoin? Otherwise, I'll hop over to ETH. Nope. All right, ETH USD. ETH, I think, will follow suit, just because it has been so overextended. And I think this is a huge thing that you need to differentiate with cryptocurrencies. I don't think everyone will correct. So, for example, I think Power Ledger will continue to go up. So just like as I think Raiden will continue to go up. But any of these currencies that have been so crazily, grown over the past weeks, meaning Ethereum, I told some friends to buy Ethereum at $300 literally less than a month ago, maybe a month ago, and now it's more than doubled since then. So it has some way to come back down to. And if we want to do Fibonacci retracement real quick, let's just use this range. It doesn't even have to be extreme. But even if we just use this range, I can easily see it come back down to 600. But to be totally fair, I can see it come back to the 500 range. Now I definitely don't see it fall below 400. I don't, I think the 400 days are past, and I also don't see it necessarily come all the way down here. Yeah, I think this right here between 500 to 650 maybe, that's your sweet spot. And what you want to look for is, again, a higher high. So you see a red candle, you see a red candle, you see green candle. I wouldn't jump in just yet, to be fair. Because, look, you see green candle, it probably comes back down again. Then you see, look, it didn't go lower. Great. Didn't make a lower low. Now you can get in. This is your sign, basically. Because higher highs and higher lows, that just works like 90% of the time. And it really helps you to keep your emotions in check. Because you're not making things up in your mind, and it's very rare that things reverse with a V shape. So, for example, you see, yes, we had a V shape here, but look, it came back down. Higher low. Look, we're making a higher high. Time to get in. And I rather miss out on this then be the guy that sees, oh look, it's a pullback, it's the V return, and buys here at 312, and then watches it go down all the way to $150, and in the process loses 50% and probably panic sells down here. All right, so be patient to wait for these, higher highs, higher lows, and I think that will be the best way to play it. If it continues to go up, which it might, I would just be very concerned at this point, because we are at $600 billion market cap. We've quadrupled or 5x in September, and at some point people will take the money. So I would just be ready for that. And also people will freak, because I also talked about this with Paul. So Coinbase only allows you to withdraw $10,000 at a time unless you request an increase. So I think people might start freaking out. We're like, hey, all these exchanges are holding my money. I can't get my money out, which means even more people will sell. But it's also, it's a mix of, it will push it down more, but it will also limit how fast it goes down, because, if we start seeing a retracement, people still have the money on Coinbase because they can't withdraw all of it. They're like, you know what, maybe I stop selling, or maybe I'll get back in. So it's a mix of I think it's a safeguard from dropping really, really low, but it will also be a reason to drop lower than just a small retraction, because people will get panicky. Because obviously, like, if people say like it's a scam, people say it's a bubble, and you can't withdraw all your money at once, people will start talking about it in a bad way, even though there's no reason to be worried about it. So that's my take on ETH. ETH just follows everything. Let me see. I'll probably go through these a lot quicker because they all follow the same pattern. So I'll most likely try to help you find some that might be going up during the downturn. So Litecoin, same thing. We failed to make a higher high, and Litecoin generally moves with Bitcoin. And the fact is, compared to ETH, which like more than doubled, Litecoin, like if you want to take, this is 1 month. It essentially 6x'd, or even more, like 7x, 8x in the past month. So guess what? It's going to come down, and I think it will come down to at least something like 200. I think it will retest 200. I personally wouldn't see a reason to buy it earlier. So if it goes down, I would get in there. Otherwise, listen, if things keep going up, I will continue day trading. I do not feel comfortable hodling yet, because I think we're like weeks away at the most from some type of correction. Latest I think come January, when a lot more negative sentiments arise. That's just what happens in markets. I think I posted a picture in the group chat where 3 out of the 4 previous, or 4 out of the 5 previous Januaries on the stock market were big red Marubozu candles. So that's just a thing that happens in January. Like December is generally very much positive vibes and everything. January, not so much. Okay, so I think it's probably going to happen now, but it might also happen in January. But regardless, I'm not hodling yet. I'm not putting stuff in cold storage just yet. I'd much rather keep day trading it up, and once it drops down, I'll buy cheap, put it on cold storage, and forget about it. So Litecoin, same story. Let's do Dash. I mean, Dash, as I said, I'm keeping my fingers away from Dash now in general, because I don't trust the team anymore. Based on how they've been performing. What is this? Oh, Jesus. Okay, let me see if I can switch to, yeah, there we go. All right, you guys still see it? Awesome. Let me switch to, there's all my charts too. So Dash, I am not touching anyway. If it comes down, I mean, look, I think Dash could come down to 400, no lie, because it's got so little substance to it, and I say this with, I think it will come back down quite a bit, Dash, because it had the most unsubstantiated rise up, and I just don't believe in it fundamentally. So I think if any major cryptocurrency collapses, it will BitConnect first and probably Dash second. Let's see, Dash. Let's do Ripple real quick, because I know a lot of you guys have been liking Ripple. Ripple might be a different story. I think it will correct as well, because we have like 4x in the previous week. So if things correct, Ripple will correct as well. Now, I do think that it will stop latest by 50 cents. I don't think it will come back down here. I think that the sub 30 cents days for Ripple have passed. So I think it will stay above 50. Anyway, so I can see Ripple come back down to 50 cents area, which would be great buy, because I think, so to give you guys some understanding of what Ripple does, because I know you guys have been very hyped about it. I don't know how many of you guys understand what it does. So Ripple isn't really meant for peer-to-peer transactions, but much rather Ripple is meant for big transactions between banks, and it's a private blockchain, meaning it's a consortium blockchain in the sense that basically the banks own it. I think there's it's not that anybody can mine Ripple, but rather there's big data centers, I guess. So it's more controlled, it's more private, and it's meant for like billion-dollar transactions between banks, millions of dollars transactions between banks. Because the banks just want something that they control. Banks, of course, they're not fans of decentralization. They're fans of saving fees, that they are. But essentially, Ripple is the bank's attempt, in my opinion, to stay relevant. I think that's the best way to put it. And they're not fully fans of like full decentralization and like losing control. So they I guess created Ripple, or jumped on board with Ripple, which allows them to make fast transactions, save a lot of fees on transactions, and their whole website is framed after that. Meaning, if you go to the website, it talks about like how much in fees can your bank save. So Ripple is not for the average consumer. So it's not really competing with Bitcoin. It's not competing with Litecoin, Vertcoin, any of these guys, which a lot of people make the mistake. So I think Ripple can live and thrive by itself so long as banks thrive. So if you think banks will still exist in the future, then more than likely Ripple will be big. If you think cryptos as a whole will make people stop using banks, then most likely Ripple will fail to keep its utility. But regardless, at its current valuation, even if just some countries keep having banks, it is most likely to rise. But would I buy it right now? Probably not. I would be patient and I would try to get in 55 cents, 50 cents, because chances are, if we are in correction, it may happen. And it's important for you guys to watch. So for example, with Bitcoin right now, just keep an eye. Is it going to go back over 19,000? I think that's an important line to watch. Then maybe I'll be more bullish, but I think chances are it's probably going to bounce, and there's probably some kind of wall. There's a lot of Bitcoin to be bought. So all of this can obviously change. Like cryptos, they can change very fast, and you guys just keep an eye on the group chat, and I'll tell you if my opinion changes. But right now, that is some warning sign. And I think this right now is people trying to get some cheap Bitcoin. But if we see pushback, it's going to be an even stronger pushback, because all these guys that thought, hey, I'm picking a bottom, will get burned, and people will be less likely to pick bottoms again. So this will all be determined in the coming hours and by tomorrow. But as of now, I'm just cautious, because this can easily result in people getting burned. So just be cautious, because we are at such a crazy high. Like this stuff, corrections will happen. Corrections need to happen, because we saw it right here. The last alt run-ups were like in May and August, May, August, June, and look, they did come down. In fact, Ripple, had a crazy run-up from 3 cents to 40 cents. So 10x, it grew more than it did now, okay? And look, for 7 months, it went on a slow death before it took off again. The same thing happened with Litecoin. You see these patterns. These patterns exist all over the place. Look, long time, and you guys remember that have been around in Crypto Trader Live, Litecoin has been stuck in like $50 range for months. Litecoin seemed really boring, and that's why everybody was like on the Bitcoin train. And then it broke out. So I think, it would be totally realistic for us to either have a downward move or at least some type of sideways move. Because at the current rate, we 5x'd. We 5x'd in mid of the month, so to September, October, November, December. So in 3 months, we 5x'd. So if we keep this going, we would probably outpace fiat by like summer 2018, and that's not going to happen. I think we will outpace fiat at some point, but not summer 2018. So you have to understand that the current rate of growth is just a tad unsustainable. And in order for us not to get there so fast, we either have to start having sideways moves or downwards moves. And it just doesn't seem realistic to have a sideways move after such a crazy growth. So I think we'll first see a down move, then maybe a sideways move. And then as there's more substance behind crypto. Again, Dash having 12,000 transactions a day, that's a joke. But once maybe stores, maybe Amazon, eBay, and like all these people start accepting crypto, now there's some like legs under the table. Now there's reason for it to continue to go back up. But till that happens, I think we are really overdue for correction. So Litecoin, let's see, who else is up here? Where's CoinMarketCap? So we looked at Bitcoin, we looked at Ethereum, we looked at Ripple, Litecoin. Let's look at Bitcoin Cash. What I'll say about Cardano again. So it's really, I guess it's innovative. It's a very science oriented. It's like a more science oriented Ethereum. So they got like PhDs, and they're very. What they also have, I guess, what makes it superior, unique, is that they have proof of they have a proof of stake protocol that is as secure as Bitcoin's proof of work protocol, which is very important because proof of stake essentially means that there's no energy being wasted. Because the problem with proof of work is that you need miners, and miners already now make up, I think, more energy consumption than like the bottom 120 countries in the world. So if we can find a way to be efficient and be secure without proof of work, that's awesome. And it seems like Cardano is like one of the ones to have fixed that problem, to have that going for itself. Now the only thing that it needs to have is people using the platform. So that's why I'm not bullish on it yet. I think we will see a fall down, and then I'm happy to pick it up when it's maybe back in the 10-cent range, maybe the 20-cent range. And I know that's a crazy fall, but that's also a result of it having grown just ridiculous amounts. I mean, Cardano wasn't even in the top 20 like a week ago. Now it's got a $12 billion market cap. Let's just look at the chart real quick because it's not on TradingView yet, from what I know. Give me a second. Yeah, that is BS growth in my opinion. So I think I'll be happy to get in at like 10 to 20 cents. But right now, honestly, like for the fact that I don't think you can find a single Cardano project in the top 100. That's a warning sign. And right now, Cardano is like 1/5 or 1/4 the size of Ethereum. So I call BS, especially because there's nothing fundamentally supporting it right now except for it being promising and it having potential. But man, I wouldn't recommend investing in potential. I like to invest based on like them having some kind of track record. So that's my thoughts on Cardano. Let's see, who else was up there? Bitcoin Cash. Now I'm curious to see if Bitcoin Cash went up while everyone else went down. Let's see, BCH. There we go. Yeah, so see, Bitcoin Cash didn't have that crazy of a run up compared to everyone else. I can see it come back down to like 1600, and if it's dramatic, I can see it come back down to 1330. It just hasn't been hyped enough where compared to some of the others where it would drop too dramatically. So that's why I'm not too negative on it yet. And I think the people that invested Bitcoin Cash, honestly, they have their own agenda. They're very, they've got the reasons for buying it. They're very it's a lot more culty than most cryptocurrencies. So they won't be as fickle as some of the others that will just nobody, let's be real, Cardano, people jumped on it because they saw it 100x day after day. I mean, they went up 100%. So they don't know what Cardano does. I know a lot of you guys talked about getting into Cardano, but you probably, if you did, then that's good for you. But I would assume most of you didn't really know what Cardano does. And the fact is, if it starts going down, you're not married to the concept of it, so you'll probably sell it and you don't care. But the thing is with Bitcoin Cash, the people that invest in it, the people that buy it, they're I guess, crusaders for Bitcoin Cash against Bitcoin, so they're less likely to dump as strongly as some of these other currencies. Which takes me to IOTA. Let's see. Yeah, I dumped IOTA. So I bought it yesterday at 330. I think I got out at 370. So it was a small go up, but the fact is it also grew just so ridiculously. Again, I bought it back in October, November at 30 cents. And now it went to $5. So it more than 10x. Yes, it did come down some, but the fact that it's at such an important support line right now, that made me want to buy yesterday. But the fact that it's so close to support line, if the panic causes it to cross through it, then it can go a lot lower. So I'm just being cautious because I think with if it, and I'll keep an eye on it. If it fails to break it, I'll jump right back in. I probably wouldn't have missed out on any of the action. But if it does break, I can see it come back down to 150 or something like that, which you might say, hey, that's crazy. But Felix of November bought IOTA at 30-40 cents, And Felix would have thought, wow, $1.50, that's awesome, that's crazy. I can triple my money in a month. So for me, that would have been a high. Now, of course, because we were at $5, it seems like end of the world scenario, but it's not. Okay, I think this would be healthy growth, while this is just unreasonable. Because what you have to realize with IOTA is right now the network isn't even working. You cannot transfer IOTA. It's been down for weeks. The founder even calls it's in beta. Now, when's the last time a tech company or tech project was able to be worth $10 billion while being in beta? Like, good luck raising even $1 million from a VC at when you're in beta, you know? So I'm a little skeptical with IOTA. The only reason I bought it last night was for technical reasons, meaning we had this consolidation, up the wicks were starting to come up, so it looked like, we could do another bounce. And the bounce would totally have been reasonable if, for example, if CME would have turned out positive, because I was somewhat banking on, Bitcoin breaking 20K. And if it did, I think everyone would keep rallying, and we probably would have broken $1 trillion before New Year's. In that case, I thought IOTA is a great entry. But, if things go down, and even now, Bitcoin usually recoils fast, it's still below 19,000. So, that is somewhat worrisome. And I keep seeing red numbers come in, and let me look at the depth chart. So IOTA, I wouldn't touch it just yet. I would be careful. I would say, you can get in with a 2 in front of it, probably easily. You can get in with a 2 in front of it with IOTA. Let's see who's next. I think Monero is still in the top 10. XMR.